What an instant hit of nostalgia I get when I hear that music. Casting my mind back to Christmas 1993. Sat in the living room on the floor, perfectly content with my brand new Mighty Max Mountain. Blissfully unaware that one more present was residing underneath the Christmas tree, unopened. That unopened present was a Sega Mega Drive that my parents had skillfully held back on and then slid underneath the tree while I wasn't looking. I had been hopeful that a year's worth of nagging had paid off. However, as the Mega Drive was not part of the main event that morning, I cast aside the notion of getting one. So when the mystery present was brought to my attention, I started to unwrap it. Unknowing it was a Sega Mega Drive, I can imagine my reaction was a close approximation of this sort of behaviour. So once it was all set up, the one game I had from the get-go was Mega Games 2, a European compilation cartridge that came with most brand new Mega Drives around about the time, with the games Golden Axe, Streets of Rage and The Revenge of Shinobi. So let's kick off in no particular order with all the games that appear on this cartridge. Let's start with Golden Axe. Coming off the back of a hand-me-down Spectrum 128K and an Atari 2600, the first glimpse of 16-bit arcade action was truly magical to behold. I set about picking the Conan-looking character and went to it hacking and slashing my way through the first few levels. Then I died. Then I picked the dwarf and I seem to remember faring a lot better with him. Taking the nostalgia goggles off for a moment, this version of Golden Axe for Mega Drive really does hold up considering its age. For an early Mega Drive title, this manages to live as Sega's burst for arcade graphics and sound in the home. The game has some really great playability, with above standard controls. Admittedly, sometimes it can be frustrating, but it does ease new players in with the beginner mode, then tease you for the complete ending in arcade mode. Now lots of people nowadays would probably breeze through Golden Axe, but sometimes if you haven't been playing it in a while, and you come at it from a lazy hold your hand current gen game mindset, this game will chew you up. So it's not the hardest game in the world, but you'll definitely have to give it your undivided attention if you want to progress to the later stages. The visual style invokes a sense of cinematic grandiose, themes and characters derivative of the fantasy genre around that time, stuff like Conan and Red Sonja, and even older titles such as Jason the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans. The pacing helps induce the cinematic feel, the little interludes such as the camp scenes where the imps come to steal your magic and you have to hit them to get it back. And the map scene. I was always completely captivated with the map and the floating quill. Something about the graphics and the music coming together at that point in the game really helped to drive home the idea you were on some sort of epic quest. You would think the hardest enemies in the game would be the later bosses. In fact, the skeletons seem to be by far the worst. These little bastards will ruin your day if you let them. Getting one either side of you, you're going to have a bad time. You can sometimes get lucky though. Golden Axe defines the classic arcade action game on the Mega Drive, and is still very playable today. If you haven't revisited this in a while, it is definitely worth popping back in. So, on to The Revenge of Shinobi, a game that has repeatedly kicked my ass from the first time I ever played it up until current day. Even back then, if I wanted to get anywhere with this game, I had to implement the shuriken cheat just to have a chance to get to the end boss. On the options screen, if you select 0 shurikens and wait 20 seconds until the zeros change shape, then you will have infinity shurikens when you start up the game. On this version of the game you are treated to a few pop culture references that were still left in. The bosses in the game include the Terminator and Spider-Man and even Godzilla. Earlier iterations of the game also included Batman and Rambo. Lots of things in the game add to the overall difficulty. There are lots of precision jumps all throughout the game. It definitely requires a degree of level memorisation, and the double jump that you perform requires such precise timing to pull off at pivotal moments in the game. You will end up mistiming the jump more often than not. If this move was easier to pull off and more reliable, it would be a lot easier. So the challenge is high in this one, but what this game does do is give you so much back if you put the time in. The graphics are fantastic, lots of different themed levels and enemies, and some brilliant use of parallax scrolling in the background. And then there is the music. The music in The Revenge of Shinobi is phenomenal. Legendary composer Yuzo Kusura is totally on for this one. With so many awesome tunes from level to level, after playing this game you will definitely end up humming at least one or two of them. The Revenge of Shinobi is a fantastic accompaniment to the other two games on this cartridge, with Golden Axe and Streets of Rage both having somewhat forgivable difficulty in a beat 'em up style. Having a side-scrolling one-player hard-as-nails platformer was a great choice for this compilation. So, Streets of Rage. Back to Christmas morning 1993 and my sister had piled into my bedroom for some two-player action. Insisting we go on Streets of Rage, we fire up the game, I pick Axel, she picks Blaze. I remember us getting to the level 5 end boss before it was game over the first time we played it. Back then, not knowing to juggle your hits so you don't break into a combo was a really easy way of wasting lives on that game. But this gameplay style is really what makes the game so satisfying to play. Grappling your enemies and jumping over them to slam them into the ground never gets old. Flipping enemies over your shoulder and even tapping B and C just to slap that cheeky enemy behind you. And teaming up to jump and hail your partner at the enemies. All these moves when landed feel satisfying, like they have real impact. Every punch and kick has a great sound effect and visual prompt to drive home the action. This is something a lots of beat 'em ups are missing the mark on. Streets of Rage was Sega's answer to Capcom's arcade hit Final Fight. Although I do enjoy Final Fight, I think Sega's flagship beat 'em up in my opinion outshines that game in all areas. The levels in this game are totally on point, especially some of the early stages in the city. Till this day, if I'm out and about and I find myself down a dodgy back alley somewhere, it always conjures up images from this game. Like Golden Axe, Streets of Rage is thick with cinematic flair. From the character profiles swooshing on the screen giving you a bit of backstory, from the fantastic intro sequence, Yuro Kazura's score for the game is out of this world. The Mega Drive has both its own sound chip and the Master System sound chip on both, so Yuro utilises both of these sound chips to create this masterpiece in his chiptunes only. Every level of this game features a fantastic piece of music, just like Revenge of Shinobi. These will be jammed into your brain and you will be trying to hum them for hours after playing this game. The music in the game is so good it is permanently fixtured on my playlist, and it's even been released on vinyl. Streets of Rage has been released on many formats. Because of the format switch, all the buttons are always in a different place. I'm sure many a player must have ended up doing this before. One of my pet peeves with the game, when you start the level and accidentally press the wrong button and waste your special straight away. Streets of Rage is a game that stands the test of time. It has an excellent multiplayer experience and great replayability. One of the best Mega Drive games out there, and in fact one of the greatest games of all time. It definitely has a place in my personal top 10. So there you have it, Mega Games 2. The cartridge on its own is fairly common, and you can often find it under a $5 on eBay. Sometimes the box copy will run around about a tenner, but considering Golden Axe, Shinobi and Streets of Rage on their own in the box can usually go for around £10 each. To get them all on the one cartridge for that price is amazing.